The day my father stole my savings, I wasn't even surprised. I stood in his office, staring at the bank statement in my trembling hands, and all I could think was, of course he'd do this to me. My name is Jayla, and I've spent 28 years being the family disappointment. The daughter who chose blueprints over bridal magazines, who dared to dream bigger than the narrow future my father had planned for me. "It's for your brother's wedding," he said without looking up from his desk, as if taking my life savings was as casual as borrowing a pen. "Vincenzo needs it more than you do. You're not getting married anytime soon anyway." The leather chair creaked as I sat down, my knees weak. "That was my money, Dad. I earned every penny of it." He finally looked up, his reading glasses perched on his nose, wearing that expression I'd grown to hate, the one that said I was being difficult again. "Jayla, be reasonable. Your brother is starting a family. You're just—" He waved his hand dismissively. "Playing with buildings. Playing with—" I choked on the words. "I'm an architect. I graduated top of my class. I've designed—" Yes, he interrupted. "But Vincenzo is giving us grandchildren. He's carrying on the Rodriguez name. What are you doing except working like a man?" The familiar ache in my chest intensified. I thought of the countless nights I'd spent hunched over my drafting table, of the promotions I'd earned, of the respect I'd gained in my firm. All of it meant nothing to him. "How much did you take?" I asked, my voice steady despite the storm inside me. 45,000. The number hit me like a physical blow. Nearly 3 years of savings, gone. Just like that. "And you didn't think to ask me first?" He sighed, the sound heavy with patronizing patience. "Majida, when you finally find a husband, we'll help with your wedding too. But right now—" "Stop." I stood up, my chair scraping against the hardwood floor. "Just stop." The office suddenly felt too small, too suffocating. Through the open door, I could hear my mother in the kitchen, humming as she prepared dinner. The same dinner we'd been having every Sunday for years, where Vincenzo would dominate the conversation with his latest business ventures while I sat quietly, my achievements gathering dust in the corner. "Your brother needs this money to secure his future," my father continued. "His wedding to Talia needs to be perfect. You understand, don't you?" I looked at him. Really looked at him. The gray in his hair, the lines around his mouth, the absolute certainty in his eyes that he was right. That he was doing what was best for his children, for his family. "Actually, Dad," I said, surprising myself with how calm I sounded. "I don't understand, but I will make you understand. Soon." He frowned. "What does that mean?" I turned to leave, pausing at the doorway. "You know what the funny thing is? I was saving that money for a down payment. I'm about to close a deal that would have made you proud, if you'd ever bothered to ask about my career." "Jayla." "No." I cut him off. "You've said enough. But don't worry, Dad. I'll be at Vincenzo's wedding. I wouldn't miss it for the world." I walked out of his office, past my mother who called out, "Mija, aren't you staying for dinner?" "Not today, Mom. I have work to do." As I drove away from my childhood home, I could see my father watching from the window. He probably thought I was being dramatic, that I'd cool off and everything would go back to normal. He didn't know that normal had just died in that office. My phone buzzed with a text from my boss, Bianca. "Meeting tomorrow at 9. Bringing big news. You ready to change the game?" A smile spread across my face as I typed back, "More ready than ever." The sun was setting over the city skyline. My city, the one I'd helped shape with my designs. My father thought I was playing with buildings? Fine. I'd show him exactly what kind of games I could play. I pulled into my apartment complex, my mind already racing with plans. Vincenzo's wedding was in 3 months. 3 months to turn my father's theft into the biggest mistake he'd ever made. 3 months to prove that his daughter wasn't just an architect. She was a force to be reckoned with. As I stepped into my elevator, my phone buzzed again. This time, it was Vincenzo. "Hey sis, need you to help with some wedding stuff. Dad said you're on board?" I stared at the message, thinking about how my brother had always taken everything for granted. My father's approval, my mother's attention, and now my money. Of course, I typed back. Wouldn't miss it for anything. The elevator doors closed, and I caught my reflection in the mirrored walls. I looked different somehow. Stronger, determined. Game on, Dad. Game on. The Harrison Tower project? I leaned forward in my chair, hardly daring to breathe. You're giving it to me? Bianca smiled from across her desk, her eyes twinkling. Not giving, Jayla. You earned it. Your designs were exceptional, and the client specifically requested you. The morning sun streamed through the floor-to-ceiling windows of her corner office, illuminating the scale models that lined the shelves. One of them could be mine. The thought made my heart race. I paused, thinking of my father's dismissive wave just yesterday. This is exactly what I need right now. There's more, Bianca said, sliding a folder across her desk. The client wants to fast-track the project. If you nail this, we're looking at making you partner by year's end. Partner. At 28. The word echoed in my head like a bell. When do I start? Right now. But first... Bianca leaned back, studying me with that penetrating gaze that had intimidated me when I first started working for her. What's going on with you? You've got that look. What look? The one that says you're about to either break down or break through. I've been mentoring architects for 15 years, Jayla. I know that look. I hesitated, then told her everything. About my father, the stolen savings, Vincenzo's wedding. By the time I finished, Bianca's expression had hardened. 45,000? She shook her head. That's not just theft, that's a statement. He's telling you what he thinks you're worth. Exactly. I clenched my fists under the desk. And I'm going to prove him wrong. The Harrison Tower could do that. Bianca tapped the folder. It's a $100 million project. Your name would be everywhere. My phone buzzed. A text from my mother. Your father wants to know if you're coming to dinner tonight. Vincenzo has an announcement. I ignored it. There's something else you should know, Bianca said, standing up to close her office door. The location for the Harrison Tower? It's that old building your father's been trying to buy for his business expansion. I stared at her. What? I did my research when the property came up. Your father's company has been bidding on it for months. But with this project, she smiled. We'll be buying it first. The irony was delicious. The very money my father had taken from me might have helped him secure that property. Now I could take it right out from under him. When's the closing date? I asked. 3 months from now. I laughed. The same day as Vincenzo's wedding. Perfect timing, I said, but I'll need to keep this quiet until then. Of course. Bianca nodded. Though I heard through the grapevine that your father's planning quite the speech at the wedding. Something about family values and following tradition? My stomach turned. How do you know that? Your brother's fiancée, Talia. Her father plays golf with our CEO. Apparently, your dad's been bragging about how his son is carrying on the family legacy while his daughter... She trailed off. While his daughter what? You don't want to know. My phone buzzed again. This time it was Vincenzo. Dad's announcing me as VP of the company tonight. You should be there, sis. Family moment and all that. I showed Bianca the text. VP? She raised an eyebrow. Isn't your brother's company struggling? What do you mean? Just rumors, but... She pulled up something on her computer. Your brother's latest venture lost 3 major clients last month. If your father's promoting him now, he's trying to save face. I finished, using my money to fund a wedding and a promotion that'll look good to investors, while ignoring the daughter who's actually successful. Bianca stood up and walked to her window, gesturing for me to join her. See that skyline? In 6 months, your design will be part of it. That's real legacy, Jayla, not some handed-down title. I typed a reply to Vincenzo. Sorry, big presentation tomorrow. Can't make it. Congratulations on the promotion. I should warn you, Bianca said, watching me. Once we announce the Harrison Tower project, your father will know. He might try to interfere. Let him try. I picked up the folder, already mentally sketching designs. I've spent my whole life being the quiet, understanding daughter. Not anymore. That's my girl. Bianca grinned. Now go make history. As I walked to my office, I passed the wall of previous projects. Soon mine would be there. Bigger and better than anything my father could imagine. My phone buzzed one last time. A message from my mother. Your father's disappointed you're not coming. Says you're choosing work over family again. I smiled, thinking of the Harrison Tower plans in my hands. No, Mom, I whispered. I'm choosing myself. I sat at my desk, spread out the plans, and began to work. Let my father have his dinner, his announcements, his illusions of control. In 3 months, I'd show him exactly what his disappointing daughter could do. And it would be spectacular. You look exactly like I expected, Talia said, sliding into the booth across from me at the coffee shop. Successful, independent, everything your father warned me about. I nearly choked on my latte. He warned you about me? Oh, yes. She stirred her green tea, a wry smile playing on her lips. Said I should be careful not to let you influence me with your modern ideas. I hadn't expected this when Talia asked to meet. I'd imagined another wedding planning session, more color schemes and seating arrangements. Instead, my future sister-in-law was serving up family secrets with her tea. And yet here you are, I said, studying her. She was beautiful in an understated way, nothing like the flashy women Vincenzo usually dated. Here I am. She leaned forward. Because I need to know. Is it true what they say about you? That you're the most promising architect in the city? Who says that? My father. He's on the board of several development companies. He's been following your work. I felt a flutter of pride, quickly followed by anger. Of course, my future father-in-law knew about my success, but my own father couldn't be bothered to notice. I'm good at what I do, I said carefully, but I'm guessing that's not why you wanted to meet. Talia glanced around the cafe before lowering her voice. Your father took your savings for our wedding. Vincenzo told me last night. He was drunk, bragging about how your dad always puts him first. My hands tightened around my cup. And I think it's disgusting. Her voice shook slightly. Just like I think it's disgusting that Vincenzo's being promoted to VP when his last 3 projects failed miserably. I sat up straighter. How do you know about that? Because I'm the one who's been covering his tracks. She pulled out her phone, showing me spreadsheets. I'm an accountant. Vincenzo hired me to fix his books before showing them to your father. That's how we met. Does my father know? No. He sees what he wants to see. Talia put her phone away. Just like he doesn't see that I hate the idea of this huge, expensive wedding, or that I'm terrified of becoming just another trophy wife in his perfect family picture. I studied her face, seeing the same frustration I'd been carrying for years. Then why are you going through with it? Because I love Vincenzo, despite his faults. And because... She hesitated. Because I thought maybe I could change things from the inside. But I need an ally. An ally for what? Your father's planning to make a speech at the wedding. He's going to announce Vincenzo's promotion, praise him for upholding family values, and then... She met my eyes. He's going to use you as an example of what happens when women stray from tradition. The coffee turned bitter in my mouth. He wouldn't dare. He would. Unless what? Unless someone beats him to the punch. Talia smiled, and for the first time, I saw steel behind her gentle demeanor. I've seen the building permits, Jayla. I know about the Harrison Tower project. I froze. How? Like I said, my father's connected. He also told me your father's been trying to buy that property. The timing of the wedding announcement and the closing date can't be coincidence. It's not, I admitted, but I can't talk about the project yet. You don't have to. Just know that when the time comes... She reached across the table and squeezed my hand. You'll have at least one person in that room on your side. My phone buzzed. A text from Vincenzo. Where are you? Talia's supposed to be at the florist. Talia glanced at her own phone and rolled her eyes. He tracks my location. Says it's because he worries. That doesn't bother you? Everything bothers me lately. She stood up, straightening her designer dress. But maybe it's time both of us stopped being the quiet, accommodating women they want us to be. As she gathered her things, she paused. One more thing. Your father's business, it's not as stable as he pretends. He needs that property more than anyone knows. How bad is it? Bad enough that he's using your money to fund a wedding we don't even want. She adjusted her bag. Think about that when you're designing your tower. I watched her walk away, her heels clicking on the tile floor. My phone buzzed again, this time with a message from my mother. Wedding dress shopping tomorrow. Your father expects you there. I thought about Talia's revelations, about my father's planned speech, about the Harrison Tower plans sitting on my desk at work. For the first time since this all began, I felt something beyond anger. I felt hope. Count me in. I texted back to my mother. Wouldn't miss it for the world. After all, every great revenge story needs a dress rehearsal. And thanks to Talia, I now had front row seats to my family's carefully constructed facade, crumbling brick by brick. The show was about to get interesting. Sign here, the property agent said, sliding the final document across the glossy conference table. And the Harrison Tower site is yours. My hand didn't shake as I signed, though my heart was racing. Bianca stood behind me, her presence steady and reassuring. The moment my pen left the paper, applause broke out around the room. Congratulations, Ms. Rodriguez, the agent beamed. You've just made history. Youngest female architect to secure a project of this scale in the city. As if on cue, my phone buzzed. A text from my father. Where are you? The wedding planner is waiting. Your brother's special day is more important than whatever building you're playing with. I tucked my phone away without responding, turning to Bianca instead. When do we announce? Press release goes out tomorrow morning. She handed me a glass of champagne. Your father should see it just in time for the rehearsal dinner. The thought made me smile. 2 weeks until the wedding, and my father still had no idea what was coming. He'd been too busy parading Vincenzo around at business functions, showing off his newly minted VP son. Speaking of your father, Bianca lowered her voice. Our research team found something interesting about his company's finances. Before she could continue, my phone rang. Talia's name flashed on the screen. I have to take this, I said, stepping into the hallway. Talia. Your brother's drunk, she said without preamble. He just confessed something you need to hear. What is it? The money your father took from you? It wasn't just for the wedding. Vincenzo's last project failed so badly, they're facing lawsuits. Your savings helped cover that up. My free hand gripped the wall. How much did they lose? Enough that your father's desperate for that property you just bought. He needs to expand to stay afloat. She paused. He doesn't know I'm telling you this. Does my mother know? No one knows except Vincenzo, your father, and now us. She lowered her voice. They're at your parents' house right now, celebrating the property deal they think they're getting next week. I walked back into the conference room where Bianca was waiting with a concerned expression. I need to see those financial reports, I told her. 20 minutes later, I stared at the documents spread across the table, each page revealing another layer of my father's deception. He's been operating at a loss for months, Bianca explained. The Harrison Tower location was his last chance at a major expansion. Without it, his company fails, I finished. And Vincenzo's promotion is worthless, Bianca nodded. Your father's betting everything on this property deal going through. My phone buzzed again. A message from my mother. Your father's telling everyone at dinner how proud he is of Vincenzo. Please come, mija. Show some family support. I looked up at Bianca. The press release tomorrow. Can we make it bigger? She grinned. What did you have in mind? Full page in the business section. My photo, my credentials, and the project details. I want it impossible to ignore. Done. She paused. You know this will hurt them. They hurt me first. I gathered the papers. Besides, I'm just doing what my father always wanted, making a name for the family. My phone rang again. This time it was Vincenzo. Hey, sis, he slurred. Dad's making his special toast. Says he wishes you were more like me. Isn't that funny? You're the successful one, but he can't see it. Very funny, I said coldly. Hey, Vincenzo, how's that VP position working out? He went quiet. What do you mean? Nothing. Just wondering if you've told Dad about those lawsuits yet. How did you... He stopped. Talia told you. She did. Just like tomorrow's newspaper will tell everyone about my new project. The one on the property Dad wanted. Jayla, wait. I hung up, turning to Bianca. Let's make one more change to that press release. Add that the project will break ground the same day as my brother's wedding. That's cruel, Bianca said, but she was already typing the addition. No, I corrected her. Cruel is stealing your daughter's savings to cover up your son's failures. This is justice. My phone lit up with messages from my mother, my father, Vincenzo. I ignored them all except one from Talia. They're panicking. Your father just left dinner early to call his lawyer. It's starting. I picked up my champagne glass, watching the city lights through the conference room windows. Somewhere out there, my father was realizing his perfect world was about to shatter. To the Harrison Tower, I said, raising my glass. To karma, Bianca added with a wink. Tomorrow, everyone would know what the disappointing daughter had achieved. Tomorrow, my father would learn that his biggest mistake wasn't stealing my money. It was underestimating me. I took a sip of champagne, savoring the moment. The real celebration was still to come, and it would be served ice cold at my brother's wedding. The silence in my parents' kitchen was deafening. My mother stood at the sink, methodically washing dishes that were already clean, while the newspaper lay open on the counter between us. My face stared up from the business section, next to the headline, Rising Star Architect Secures Historic Harrison Tower Project. Your father hasn't slept, she finally said, not turning around. He's been in his office all night. Good. I took a sip of coffee, watching her shoulders tense at my response. Mija, why didn't you tell us? Like you told me about using my savings to cover Vincenzo's lawsuits? The plate in her hands clattered into the sink. She turned, water dripping from her fingers. How did you... Does it matter? I cut her off. What matters is that you knew. You knew and you said nothing. I wanted to. Her voice cracked. But your father is a liar. I stood up, pushing the newspaper toward her. Read it, Mom. Really read it. That's what your daughter accomplished while Dad was busy planning his perfect son's wedding. She picked up the paper with trembling hands. The property? This is the one your father wanted? Needed, I corrected, to save his failing company, but he was so busy dismissing me he never saw me coming. Jayla! My father's voice boomed from the doorway. He looked haggard, his usually immaculate suit wrinkled. What have you done? Built something of my own, I said calmly. Isn't that what you always wanted? For your children to be successful? He slammed his hand on the counter. You deliberately sabotaged this family. No, Dad. You did that when you stole from me. I borrowed that money for your brother's lawsuits, I finished. Not just his wedding. Tell Mom the truth. Tell her how you used my savings to cover up Vincenzo's failures. My mother's gasp was soft but sharp. Antonio, is this true? Before he could answer, Vincenzo burst in, his face red. The investors are pulling out. They saw the article about the property deal falling through. Dad, they're demanding their money back. Quiet, my father hissed, but it was too late. My mother sank into a chair. What money? What's happening to our family? Ask them, I said, nodding toward my father and brother. Ask them about the house of cards they've built. Or should I say, the house they tried to build with my money. You ungrateful? My father started, but his phone rang. His face paled when he saw the caller ID. I have to take this. As he rushed out, Vincenzo turned to me. You've ruined everything. No, I corrected him. I just exposed everything. There's a difference. The wedding's in a week, he pleaded. Can't you wait until after Dad makes his speech about family values? About how you're the model son while I'm the cautionary tale? I laughed bitterly. Not this time. My mother stood suddenly. I need to show you something. She hurried to the family room, returning with an old photo album. Look, she opened it to a page showing me as a child, proudly holding up a drawing of a building. You were always building things, creating. I should have protected that spark in you. Mom. No, let me finish. She turned another page, revealing newspaper clippings of my early projects that I'd never seen before. I saved everything. Every achievement, every article. I was proud, Jayla. I am proud. I was too weak to stand up to your father. My throat tightened. Why show me this now? Because you're stronger than I ever was. She closed the album. And because you need to know that someone saw you, even when it seemed like no one did. My father's voice carried from his office, growing increasingly desperate. No, please, we can work something out. The property fell through, but... He's losing everything, isn't he? My mother asked quietly. Only what he built on lies, I replied. My success is real. The Harrison Tower is real. Vincenzo slumped against the counter. Talia's parents are calling off the wedding. They saw the article, did some digging. They know everything. As if summoned, Talia appeared in the doorway. Not everything. She walked to stand beside me. The wedding's still on, but we're doing it my way now. Small, honest, and without your father's speech. My mother looked between us, understanding dawning in her eyes. You two planned this. No, Talia said. Jayla earned this. I just helped truth find its way to light. My father returned, his face ashen. The board is calling an emergency meeting. They want me to step down. Good, I said, standing up. Now you'll have plenty of time to watch them build my tower on the property you wanted so badly. I headed for the door, pausing only when my mother called out, Where are you going? To work, Mom. I have a legacy to build. I looked at my father. A real one. The door closed behind me with a satisfying click, leaving them to face the wreckage of their carefully constructed lies. The wedding was still a week away, but the real ceremony, the dismantling of my father's empire, had already begun. The church bells tolled as I adjusted my bridesmaid's dress in the mirror. Talia stood beside me, radiant in a simple white gown that had cost a fraction of the original monstrosity my father had insisted on. Your father's pacing outside, she said, applying a final touch of lipstick. He still thinks he's giving that speech. Let him think that. I patted the envelope in my clutch, containing the final papers for the Harrison Tower project. Everyone else knows better. A knock at the door made us both turn. My mother entered, her eyes red, but her spine straight. The board accepted his resignation this morning, she said quietly. He didn't want me to tell you. But you did anyway. I smiled at her. That's new. She smoothed her dress, a nervous habit I'd seen 1,000 times before. I've been doing a lot of new things lately, like checking our accounts. She met my eyes in the mirror. I've transferred your savings back to you, with interest. Mom, no. She held up her hand. Let me finish. I also found proof of everything. The lawsuits, the cover-ups. I've given copies to the board. Talia gasped softly. You reported your own husband? I reported a man who stole from his daughter and lied to his family. My mother's voice was firm. It's time we all faced the truth. Another knock and Vincenzo poked his head in. He looked hungover and nervous. Dad's insisting on making his announcement before the ceremony. No, Talia said, turning to face him. We agreed. I know, but he's threatening to walk out if we don't let him speak. Vincenzo ran a hand through his hair. He says he needs to salvage what's left of the family's reputation. I exchanged glances with Talia. Let him speak. Jayla, my mother warned, don't make this worse. Trust me, I said, squeezing her hand. Some things need to be said out loud. The church was packed when we entered, though not with the business elite my father had originally invited. Instead, Talia's real friends and family filled the pews, along with my colleagues from the firm. Bianca sat in the front row, giving me a subtle thumbs up. My father stood at the altar, his usual commanding presence diminished by the events of the past week. But his eyes still burned with the same righteous certainty I'd grown up with. Before we begin, he announced, his voice echoing through the church, I want to say a few words about family. The audience shifted uncomfortably. They'd all seen the news about his resignation, about the company's troubles. Family, he continued, is about tradition, about knowing your place and playing your part. My son, Vincenzo, understands this. He's following in my footsteps, carrying on our legacy. What legacy? The words left my mouth before I could stop them. Every head turned toward me. Jayla, my father warned, don't. But I was already walking toward the altar, the envelope in my hand. You want to talk about legacy, Dad? Let's talk about it. This is your brother's wedding. Yes, it is. I turned to face the congregation. And since we're all here to witness a union, let me share some truth about our family's unity. My father stepped forward, but my mother caught his arm. Let her speak, Antonio. For once in your life, let her speak. 3 months ago, I continued, my father took my savings without my permission. He used it to cover up my brother's business failures and fund this wedding. He did this because he believed a daughter's achievements mean nothing compared to a son's failures. Murmurs rippled through the church. But here's what he didn't know. I opened the envelope, holding up the papers. While he was trying to save his crumbling empire, I was building something real. The Harrison Tower project breaks ground today. My design, my achievement, my legacy. Enough, my father shouted. No, Dad. For once, it's not enough. I turned to Vincenzo and Talia. Your children, if you have them, will look up at that tower one day, and they'll know that their aunt built it, not because of her last name, but despite it. Talia stepped forward, taking my hand. And they'll know that success isn't about maintaining appearances. It's about building something honest, something true. The church was silent. My father stood frozen, his carefully constructed world crumbling around him. My mother watched him, tears in her eyes but resolution on her face. Now, I said, handing the envelope to Bianca, who had joined us at the altar. I believe we have a wedding to celebrate. One based on love and truth, not lies and appearances. As I took my place beside Talia, I caught my mother's eye. She nodded slightly, and for the first time in years, I saw pride there. Real pride. Not the polite fiction we'd lived with for so long. The ceremony began, but something had shifted in that sacred space. My father's power, built on manipulation and control, had been replaced by something stronger, the truth. And as Talia and Vincenzo exchanged their vows, I felt the last chains of my father's expectations fall away. The real ceremony today wasn't just a wedding. It was a liberation. The reception hall hummed with subdued conversation as servers cleared the dinner plates. My father hadn't touched his food, staring instead at the large presentation screen where photos of the happy couple cycled through. He knew what was coming. Ready? Talia whispered, squeezing my hand under the table. I nodded, catching Bianca's eye across the room. She pulled out her phone, and seconds later, the slideshow transformed into the architectural renderings of the Harrison Tower. The room fell silent. Ladies and gentlemen, Bianca's voice carried clearly through the space. As a wedding gift to the lovely couple, we'd like to share something special. Today marks not only Vincenzo and Talia's union, but also the groundbreaking of a project that will transform our city's skyline. My father's knuckles turned white around his wine glass. Leading this revolutionary project, Bianca continued, is one of our own. Jayla, would you like to share with everyone? I stood, smoothing my dress. The Harrison Tower isn't just a building, it's a statement about legacy, about earning your place in the world rather than having it handed to you. The screen showed the tower's base, where my name would be permanently displayed as lead architect. Some of you might have read about recent changes at my father's company, I continued, watching him flinch. About how he resigned after certain truths came to light. Jayla, my mother warned softly, but I pressed on. What you might not know is that this project, my project, sits on the very property he tried to acquire using money he stole from me. I turned to face him directly. Money that was meant to cover up failures, not fund successes. Vincenzo stood abruptly. That's enough. No. Talia cut him off, rising to stand beside me. Your sister's right. I've spent months fixing your books, hiding your mistakes. No more lies. The room erupted in whispers. My father pushed back his chair with a screech. You ungrateful child, he spat. I gave you everything. You gave me nothing. My voice rang out. Everything I have, I earned. While you were propping up Vincenzo's failing businesses, I was winning contracts. While you were stealing my savings, I was designing the future. Antonio. My mother's voice cut through the tension. Sit down. To everyone's surprise, he did. Our daughter, she continued, standing slowly, has achieved something remarkable. And you're going to sit there and watch as she announces her triumph, just as you've made her sit through countless celebrations of our son. The screen changed to show the tower's completion date. Gasps filled the room as people recognized its significance. Yes, I confirmed. The Harrison Tower will open exactly 1 year from today, on what would have been Dad's 30th anniversary as CEO of his company. The company he lost because he couldn't see past his own prejudices. You planned this, my father accused. You deliberately timed everything to destroy me. No, Dad, you destroyed yourself. I just built something better from the ruins. Bianca stepped forward, champagne glass raised. To the Harrison Tower and to its brilliant architect, and to karma, which it turns out has impeccable timing. The room filled with the sound of clinking glasses, but I wasn't done. One more thing, I said, pulling an envelope from my clutch. Talia, Vincenzo, this is my real wedding gift to you. They opened it together. Vincenzo's face paled. A job offer? He read aloud. Entry-level position in project management, I confirmed, because everyone deserves a chance to earn their success. Even you, brother. Talia smiled, understanding immediately. He accepts. What? But Vincenzo started, but Talia silenced him with a look. You accept, she repeated firmly, because it's time to build something real. My father pushed away from the table and stormed toward the exit. At the door, he turned back. You think you've won? He demanded. You think this makes you powerful? No, Dad, I replied calmly. This makes me free. The door slammed behind him. In the ringing silence, my mother raised her glass. To freedom, she said, and to the daughter I should have defended long ago. The celebration resumed, but something had fundamentally changed. I watched as Vincenzo stared at the job offer, as Talia beamed with pride, as my mother stood taller than I'd ever seen her. Bianca appeared at my side. You know, revenge is usually ugly, but this? She gestured to the architectural renderings still floating across the screen. This is beautiful. It's not revenge, I corrected her. It's restoration. Of truth, of dignity, of balance. My phone buzzed with a message from the construction site. Ground broken. Foundation work beginning now. I smiled, thinking of the symmetry. As my father's carefully constructed facade crumbled, my tower was literally breaking ground. As his lies were exposed, my truth was rising. To new foundations, I whispered, raising my glass to the future I'd designed, both architectural and personal. The tower would rise, and with it, a new legacy. One built on merit, not manipulation. On truth, not tradition. And this time, no one could steal it from me. The sun glinted off the Harrison Tower's glass facade as I stood at its base, watching the installation crew mount the final letter of my name. Each metallic character caught the light, spelling out a truth my father had never wanted to see. "It's perfect," Talia said, linking her arm through mine. "Though I think your new office might have an even better view than mine." I smiled, remembering how she'd transformed the tower's financial department into one of the city's most respected consulting firms. "How's my brother doing with those quarterly reports?" "Getting better. Having to earn his promotions has been educational for him." She checked her watch. "Speaking of which, your mother's waiting upstairs. She said she has something important to show you." The elevator ride to the top floor felt different now that the building was alive with activity. People nodded respectfully as we passed, no longer seeing me as just Antonio's disappointing daughter, but as the architect who'd changed the city's skyline. My mother stood at the window of my office, holding a familiar photo album and a stack of papers. "I found these in your father's study," she said without turning around. "He kept every article about you, every award announcement, even while he was—" She trailed off. "Even while he was trying to stop me?" She nodded, finally facing me. "He came by the house yesterday, asked if I'd give these to you." "Why didn't he bring them himself?" "Pride." She set the album on my desk. The same pride that made him refuse to admit he was wrong all those years. But he's been watching, Jayla. Every day of construction, he stood across the street and watched your tower rise." A knock at the door interrupted us. Bianca entered, followed by Vincenzo. "Sorry to interrupt," he said, looking uncomfortable in his business casual attire, so different from his old power suits. "But we have a situation with the plaza design." "Show me," I said, following him to the blueprints spread across the conference table. As he explained the issue, I noticed something different in his voice. The arrogance was gone, replaced by genuine interest and understanding. He'd learned more about construction in the past months than he had in years of running his own company. "What if we adjusted the fountain placement?" he suggested, sketching quickly. "It would create better flow for foot traffic." "That's actually brilliant," I admitted. He grinned, and for a moment I saw the brother I'd known before our father's expectations had warped everything. "I had a good teacher," he said quietly. Another knock made us all turn. There, in my office doorway, stood my father. The room fell silent. He looked older, smaller somehow, without his expensive suit and CEO title. He held a single envelope in his hands. "Jayla," he said, his voice rough. "I need to say something." "Dad, please." He stepped forward. "I've spent months trying to find the right words. Watching this building rise floor by floor, seeing your name go up today, I realized something." My mother moved to stand beside me, her hand finding mine. "I was wrong," he said simply. "About everything. About you." He held out the envelope. "This isn't an apology. No paper could hold that. But it's a start." Inside was a deed. My hands shook as I read it. "Your childhood home," he explained. "I've signed it over to you. Do with it what you want. Sell it, rebuild it, tear it down. It's yours like it always should have been." "Why now?" "Because you've built something I never could." He gestured to the tower around us. "Not just this building, but trust, respect, real success. You did it your way, despite me, not because of me. And I'm proud of you." The words I'd waited decades to hear hung in the air between us. "There's something else," my mother said, pulling out one final paper from the album. It was a child's drawing, my first building design, sketched in crayon at age 7. My father had kept it all these years. "I was wrong about legacies too," he said. "They're not given or stolen. They're built piece by piece, just like your tower." Vincenzo stepped forward. "Dad, there's an entry-level position opening in my department." My father shook his head. "No, I need to build something of my own first. The right way this time." He turned to leave, then paused. "The view from across the street. It's amazing. You can see the whole city from there, but it's better up here, isn't it? Yes, I said softly. It is. After he left, we stood in silence, absorbing what had happened. Finally, Talia spoke. So, about that plaza fountain. We all laughed, the tension breaking. I looked around at my family. Not the one bound by my father's rigid expectations, but the one we'd built ourselves. My mother standing tall and proud. Vincenzo, learning to earn his place. Talia, turning financial truth into power. Bianca, who'd believed in me from the start. And somewhere on the street below, my father, finally looking up and seeing me. Really seeing me for the first time. I touched the window, my reflection overlaying the city I'd helped shape. Let's redesign that plaza. Together. Because that's how the best things are built. Not alone, not through force or theft or lies, but together, with truth and trust as the foundation.